Now, a lot of you may be wondering that what is really crowdfunding? Okay, I wrote about this just last year, and it was an enlightening experience even for me. But I won't really get most of it. Patch, I only met last year. The other two, I haven't really talked to Ruel, but I spoke to them a bit about what they did. I will allow them to explain what was their experience, the way that I learned from them. Why? What I've learned from crowdfunding, it is not just one person. It is a community. It is not something that I give, then I take. No. It is something that when I give back. Okay? So, let's start with, of course, the host of this whole event. Congratulations, Patch.
Thank you.
Okay? Okay.
Still alive, everyone.
I'm pretty sure
Barely.
Patch is barely alive right now. He's been running around since, who knows, 2 weeks of non-sleep. Okay, Patch, you are Spark, right? This is Spark Fest. Why did you build Spark Fest?
Sparkfest.
Spark Fest. Let's start with that, so that we can talk about crowdfunding later on. Why did you start with Spark Fest?
We started Sparkfest out of, siguro, we've been doing crowdfunding Spark Project for almost 5 years, 4.5 years already. And for the past years, we have managed to build a community of all these creative entrepreneurs that, for me, are very inspiring. And I really wanted to create an offline event, an event such as this, so that more people can, learn more about the people that I meet. And it's really just a gathering of creative entrepreneurs, change makers, so that we can learn from each other and really be a community, as we said a while ago.
Yes. So, given that this is a community, and then what is it that Spark Project has built? Is it just a series of projects from people who want to be entrepreneurs? Or are these just people just asking for money? What is really the goal of Spark projects, especially from your side as the platform?
As someone who operates a platform, I think from the very beginning, because there are a lot, there are more than 500 plus crowdfunding platforms worldwide, and for us, how I was asking myself how I can differentiate myself from all these platforms, and being a local platform, that's one of them. I think it was very intentional on our end that we won't just be a platform, we won't just be a website, because anyone can make one. I think the value that we can give to our audience, to our customers, our Spark projects, is to build that kind of ecosystem and community that they don't just engage with us and then, after the engagement, we won't hear from them anymore. So we made it was very intentional on our end to invest in relationships and guide them through the process. Especially, crowdfunding was very new until now. It's still new here in the Philippines. Not a lot of people are still in the dark in terms of how they can proceed with an activity such as this. So they need someone to guide them through the process. And it turned out to be very helpful for them. And then that's why they stayed and continue to engage with us even after they're done.
Okay. I remember, Patch, when I first met you, the first thing I asked you, why should people crowdfund? So, for the benefit of the others who would have just learned about it recently, especially Sparkfest is about introducing it to them, making them learn about it. Why should they crowdfund?
Okay. Well, when we started Spark and the whole idea of crowdfunding, we're not the first crowdfunding website. It really stems out from the need of entrepreneurs, people who wanted to create something. Usually, they can't go about it because they lack a certain element, which usually, when most of the time, it's funds. So, having that as a jump-off point, crowdfunding allows them to gain access to funds not through traditional ways like banks and such, but through the power of the crowd. But through the years, or through experience, it's not just really about raising money. People have learned that crowdfunding is also a tool where they can connect to more people, to their customers, and connect with them in a deeper level. So it goes beyond just raising money then.
Okay. I hope if you don't mind if I jump from one speaker to the other. Ruel, is it... sorry, Ruel. Sorry. John. I'll jump with John first, Ruel. John, you did your campaign with Kickstarter. Am I right?
Kickstarter.
Yeah. How much was it that you tried to start with? Your start of target.
My internal target was $100,000, but the stated target was $60,000.
And then you ended up with how much?
We ended up with around 213, I think is the
$213,000. Wow, that's a lot of money. That's, if my math tells me right, is that 10 million pesos?
That's a little over 10 million pesos. Yeah.
Are you dating anyone? I'm kidding. Okay, well, was your experience with Kickstarter similar to how Patch was saying that he wanted to share information, that he wanted to build something with the community? Is it similar to Kickstarter?
I think the thing that's similar about Kickstarter is, well, first of all, I'm here in the Philippines doing my campaign in the US.
Oh yes, I'm sorry, I forgot.
So that's there weren't a lot of people that I could really talk to because there are differences between the two platforms. But what I've managed to do was find a couple of people, a couple of Filipinos who've run international crowdfunding campaigns, and then I think one helpful thing that I was able to do was find a podcast run by somebody who just loves the crowdfunding community. I reached out to them, and through online communication, I was able to talk to a few of their guests, and one of them in particular, handheld, tips.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have that.
So around how many people did you ask before you started with Kickstarter?
Oh, I felt like I knew the manufacturing part, the how to make the product. I knew that part. What I didn't know how to do was how to run a proper crowdfunding campaign.
Okay.
And then one of the big things that I found, that I learned, was the importance of pre-campaign marketing.
Pre-campaign marketing.
Pre-campaign marketing. So one of the stories I like to tell is there's this place in Shenzhen called Hacks Accelerator. Okay, what it's like Shenzhen, if you guys don't know, it's like the hardware capital of the world these days. It's not. So if it's software, Silicon Valley. There's a Silicon Valley in the east. It's called Shenzhen, and they specialize in hardware. So people in the U.S. who run, they start a hardware project. They fly to Shenzhen to do this, and then usually their inductees, what they do is they run a crowdfunding campaign at some point of their development.
Shenzhen is in China.
China, yes.
Okay.
Shenzhen.
Everything now is made in China. Okay.
Oh, okay. So anyway, so I wasn't in Shenzhen, but one of the Filipino guys that I'm talking about is actually based in Hong Kong. So
Okay.
he goes to this place. So he's listening to this open forum with the people of Hacks who've run crowdfunding campaigns. And the common thread is that they spend around each one of them spend around $30,000 in their pre-campaign marketing.
Wow.
And that surprised me. I have to spend $30,000 to run a campaign to earn $100,000. So that was my question.
So now it cuts down your earnings from rather than 100, it's now 70.
Yeah, so it was like a switch in my brain. Okay, I need to be okay with this. Okay, I need to set my mind straight and be okay with the fact that I'll be spending $30,000. Granted, I told myself, how do I spend this $30,000? Now I had to learn how to spend those $30,000. And by the way, I didn't spend $30,000.
Oh, good. Okay.
I just I just learned what needs to happen with the $30,000, and then I did it cheaply.
John, you needed 100,000, right? But prior to starting the project, do you mean to tell us that you still had to have a basic funding to start it off?
I think these days, to run a proper international campaign, you got to do Facebook marketing. You got to do Google marketing. You need to have a proper landing page. You know, it doesn't need it doesn't require $30,000. You have to know how to spend the money wisely. I had to learn it along the way. I had to waste some money learning what I had to learn along the way. But I think by asking a lot of people, I managed to stay within budget and do it quite cheaply. And so, well, you know, I made $200,000.
Pretty much. Okay, so with your experience with Kickstarter, because it's US based,
Yep.
what would you, how was the experience? Was it very difficult considering that you're here in the Philippines?
There was, yeah.
There were, there would be a difference in barriers.
There's a real barrier. One of the big barriers is you can't. Kickstarter doesn't allow campaigns in certain to be run from certain countries.
Okay.
Okay. And one of those countries that's not on the list is the Philippines.
So you weren't allowed.
I wasn't allowed.
Okay, how did you go around it?
Tell you see. Okay. Okay. This is how I do it. Okay. So I basically registered a company in the U.S.
Okay.
Okay. My brother happens to live in the U.S. He's a U.S. citizen. I'm based here. So he's the face and name on our papers.
Okay.
Okay. But I had to register a company, so that kind of gets around the IRS thing. Okay. So I was able to do that. In fact, I have a whole monologue on how that's so brilliant. Okay. The thing that I can do that.
Okay.
Not me. Maybe me. You know. The fact that I can do that. Okay. So there's that thing. So I was able to go. So basically, I was able to go around that rule because of what I was able to do, and I think it's quite informative and encouraging for Filipino people who want to get into crowdfunding and do it on a foreign platform. There are ways to go around that.
Okay. Well, considering we've been talking about the platform, of your experience with the platform there, before you started the campaign, because Patch even said earlier that crowdfunding is a different form of funding. Why did you consider getting funds from crowdfunding rather than the traditional via bank, via your parents, your brother, your sister, your ex-girlfriend who you're not going to pay back? Why crowdfunding?
Okay, that last thing, I consider that, but but there's one answer to that. It's marketing. I consider Kickstarter or even Indiegogo to a lesser degree a megaphone. Okay, and I was counting on residual attention from media outlets,
Okay.
and which is exactly what I got by running a campaign on Kickstarter. Is I get attention from big media sites. So while I wasn't out, there were no local news outlets that featured my product. I'm on The Verge. I'm on Washington Post.
Did you actually fly and be a guest?
They would feature.
They featured the product, they featured the page. And that really allowed your product to expand.
Yep. So it helped the campaign.
Prior to it being covered by all these media outlets in the States, were you reaching your targets, or did the media outlets help you reach the targets?
Well, because of my pre-campaign marketing, I was able to reach my goal, my 60,000 goal, in less than 11 hours.
Whoa. Okay. Let's go now to another platform, Ruel. Capital. Interesting. You are trying to get money for our local farmers.
Yes.
The ones that I have studied are for artists, for projects for themselves. But what you're doing is for others. How is it that you're doing this not for yourself but for others?
Okay, so as you might have heard in my profile earlier, I'm really into social, into developing communities, into social impact projects. So that's really an innate passion for me. But then the reason why we chose farmers in particular to be the core of the business is that personally I've been exposed to the financial aspect of on the farming side, as my grandmother owns a farm in Bulacan, and I grew up in the city, but we go there during planting season and harvest season, and those two seasons are the time where you get loan to get money, and where you repay loan, because after harvest you get the seeds. So understanding the situation, I realize and I know that it's really difficult for these people to have access to funding. On the other hand, having the privilege to study in college and to be exposed in different technologies since I was in engineering, the concept of crowdfunding have struck me in the sense that there are actually similarities in the provincial means of funding farms and crowdfunding. For example, crowdfunding actually already exists in different areas, in different communities, in the provinces. The simple thing, such as a group of employees here in Manila pulling in funds so that they could ask a neighbor in the province to take care of a goat or of a pig, is a simple it's a simple crowdfunding concept in itself. So for me, it's something very parallel, and what made me believe that crowdfunding would be a viable tool for farmers to have access to funding is realizing that upon doing our market validation, there are actually a lot of people wanting to help. And gaining returns is already a big bonus for them. And the wanting to help in itself and willingness to put funds at risk for these farmers is already a huge factor. And knowing that there's a lot of them makes it even more viable.
So you mean to tell me if I give money, I'm actually taking care of a goat? Is that how it works?
Well, not necessarily a goat, but there are different types of campaigns that you could
There,
set.
what kind of campaigns are we talking about? Because the campaigns, we can get into it later on, the rewards and everything. In terms of capital,
Yes.
how does rewards and campaigns differ from the typical what you see in Kickstarter, Spark Project? Because there, it's really a product. And that product, most of the time, you give back to the person purchasing something. From the studies that I have done, how people understand crowdfunding is it's actually prepaid. How does it work in capital?
Okay, so for us, it's more of a peer-to-peer lending or financing platform. In the sense that, for one, farmers actually have difficulty accessing formal financial institutions to get credit. Thus, they end up going to loan sharks with predatory interest rates.
5-6?
Yes, definitely. Going as high as even 25% per month, which is ridiculous. And these are individuals in the area.
And these are farmers who can't, who have to wait
Complex.
for a certain season for them to harvest and
Yes,
everything.
yes.
Okay.
And so connecting them to individuals who are willing to lend money to them, it's a form of crowdfunding. And for us, the system would be a crowdfunder, or technically a funder, providing loans to a farmer, could get interest rate in return. But it's minimal in the sense that the interest rate that are being issued to a farmer is already reasonable enough.
Is
for
this
them.
similar to an equity type of crowdfunding?
We have two types
Okay.
of projects. There are projects wherein the earnings of a funder is based on the profit of a farmer. And there are projects that the earnings of a funder is fixed on a interest rate that is already preset.
Okay. How many projects currently do you have? Or is there a time frame that it closes, or is it continuous?
Well, in our experience, it actually gets fully funded in very quick,
How quick is quick?
10 minutes.
What?
Yes.
What's
So,
the target?
1.5 million, for example, it closes in 10 minutes.
Pesos.
Yes.
You guys should talk. Right?
Can I join?
Okay. Yeah, you should 1.5 million in 10 minutes.
Yes.
What do you do what he does? The pre-marketing aspect?
Well, since we have been engaged with the community of funders since the beginning, they have been waiting for really a number of farms ever since. And since we are quite careful as well in vetting farmers and putting them on board, the number of funders have grew up really, really fast while we are still working on a faster in growing the farmers.
Okay. So your per farm, you put it now per farmer at 1.5 million.
This is it's cumulative already of different set of farm campaigns.
Oh, so it's just for a certain section or sector. Is that how it works?
It's kind of mixed already. It's, for example, one campaign would be composed of two communities. One farmer community in, let's say, Bulacan, and the other one in Laguna, which for most of the communities we have, this is actually in partnership with an institution, for example, PhilRice, Philippine Rice Research Institute. We have different communities they are supporting, and we're coming into the picture to provide alternative source of financing for them. Another one is Bayer Philippines. So again, they are both nationwide, and they have different communities. And we are banking on the relationships that they already have established in these communities, because character is very important in providing loans to people.
True.
I have a question. Is it okay if I ask a question?
Yeah, 1.5 million in 10 minutes. I would too.
What's the profile of the typical funder?
For the funders, mostly are actually millennials. But in terms of location, majority are in the Philippines, roughly 70-80%. 20% are outside the Philippines. These are based on the number of sign-ups. But the outside the Philippines, majority of them are OFWs, overseas Filipinos, still Filipinos. But still a good number are still foreigners interested in helping out and investing or financing.
How big is your community right now?
We have over 15,000 registered users, but the ones that really got in to fund farmers are about 800. So
800.
a lot more are actually waiting for them to get
So
a trial.
You also vet the funder, or you kind of like
In terms of
an application.
the funders, it's just a simple registration, but we are strict that they should be 18 years old and above. Yeah, in order to engage with us.
How many projects do you have in, for example, 1 month? Because you say every project ends in 10 minutes. So you can have like 10 projects in 1 hour or something. So how many projects do you...
Actually, in terms of projects, it's not a lot. So for example, for the month of June, we had 2 campaigns. And for the coming months, we expect 3 to 5 campaigns. So yeah, and it's also quite seasonal. In the sense that since we are focusing on rice right now, planting season starts usually May to, let's say, August maximum. So depending on the schedule of irrigation in the community, the time or the date where the community will lend money will depend on when they will start. So that's kind of the window.
So you now try to expand not only to rice. I'm pretty sure you're going to expand it to other kinds of farming output as well.
Okay, so in terms of focus, we're focusing on rice. In terms of expansion, we're looking to expand in communities. Community of rice still. The difference or the risk in financing is financing farmers in particular is that every crop have their own risk profile. Every area have their own risk profile. And it's very, very technical in the sense that you are considering pest, you're considering weather, considering even culture of the area, and some other infrastructure like access to market, the irrigation, and a lot of other things. But since we are focusing on rice, it is quite easier for us to standardize what are the things that we look for and what are the things that we could be that could be the basis of scoring the risk per area and per person.
So for now,
For
you
now.
don't really. But is there plans in the future for expansion?
Definitely. Diversification of crops and diversification of projects. To just a segue, we actually do have projects that are not rice, that are just
Rice.
not rice. There are projects that are, for example, livestock like ducks. We also have pigs. And some of these projects are in partnership with different organizations to become additional livelihood program for our existing farmers. So, for example, a palay farmer have shown good record with us, and so we provide them or we offer them an opportunity to have a backyard babuyan, which could be supported by the infrastructure, could be supported by a foundation partner that we have, and whereas the operational expenses could be supported by the crowdfunding platform.
It's nice. It's like a kabuhayan showcase.
That's our goal. Personally, the thing that I'm really looking forward to is to see our farmers develop
Yeah.
their lifestyle and increase their income. That's the thing that I'm really looking forward to see.
Which has a similarity between Spark Project and Kickstarter, I can see. To help him out, Patch, how did you expand your product line? Because when we started talking about it, you did tell me that you were very picky. It shows that Ruel is very picky as well. He can be able to, how I wish that we all can do that have 1.5 million in 10 minutes. I just don't have a crop area right now. Pwede bang isang paso? Okay? So, how can you share of replicating that process for Ruel that it can be more than just rice? Spark Project has catered to not only products, but it has also catered to services. Rena, for example, it was a service that was for the good of the creeks here in Metro Manila. There are other projects that were service related. How, in your experience, how can it be expanded for Ruel in terms of others can also imagine that Ruel can be something that they can give to? As I said earlier, it's not just us giving and then taking. It's something that we constantly give and give and give and give. That since I started this paper, I got addicted to giving to Spark projects, to Kickstarter projects, but I tried to pick ones that are truly Filipino. How can we share this knowledge to others?
How we grew our community and the different types of projects we had on the side. I think it's pretty similar on how Ruel are doing it. I think it's a basic concept of since we were starting when we started 4 years ago, not a lot of people know about it, or possibly it's the first time they're hearing about it. So first, it's important for us to vet these projects, and it's about creating success stories. So in our case, we had to make sure that our first few projects are guided well, so that they become success stories that in the future people will be more confident, the backers will be more trusting and confident in supporting these projects. And as the years went by, we wanted to diversify the different types of projects that we had. So we started with product-based, and if you wanted to introduce something, say, in food, which we are exploring now, we always look for a champion guinea pig, a guinea pig that's a champion, that we can really guide through the process. And from that, it's easier now for the success to open the doors for other, let's say, food entrepreneurs to get into crowdfunding. So that's how we grow, build the trust, and diversify our different product lines or verticals.
Patch, what kind of guidance is this? Is this you holding their hand throughout the whole process?
through the years, it became, when we started, it was really a lot of hand-holding. But knowledge also, we've studied the local industry, what are the best practices, what works, what doesn't. We've put it all in our repository of knowledge. We have an online course. So communicating that or guiding these projects becomes easier. Unlike before, if we were to quantify it, possibly we would spend maybe 20 hours for a project. But now, because we've streamlined also the process that we've learned, we were learning with them, possibly it's cut down in half or even less. So hopefully in the years to come, and as more people know about crowdfunding, it's shorter. So the cycle of a project, more projects can now crowdfund, not just in Spark Project, but really in local crowdfunding platforms.
John, was Kickstarter like that to you? Wherein they held your hand,
Oh no.
20 hours with you straight?
No.
No,
No one.
So
no one.
you-
No one.
no one.
Knocking on my door.
none at all.
I had
Batch,
to
I
find
hope you
people.
got coffee at least for those 20 hours.
Yes.
Okay.
And free products too.
Okay. Freebies are always a good thing. Okay. So you were saying earlier, you got it from outside people.
Mhm.
You just approached them.
Yeah, I approach them. I've found that people who've run campaigns are very altruistic. Because-
Altruistic.
Yeah, like, yeah, big word.
Yeah.
They love to share their
Oh,
knowledge. Okay. Which is kind of the way I feel, because I feel a sense like I need to share this knowledge to I teach at UP, I teach industrial design at UP, so part of it was okay, I need to be very, how should I'm looking at it from, okay, I need to teach this someday, so I break down everything I'm learning
Oh, okay.
into bullet points that I
Okay.
can share, actionable steps, etc. So I think of, I went through the I went through the process with that in mind, so I can communicate that to other people. And so I feel like maybe to a greater or lesser degree, a lot of people I approach are of the same mindset. I'm here to, I learned something that I could not learn any other way except through other people. And so that's I feel like they're very generous with their time and their knowledge.
Yes, I agree with you on that. I've had that experience as well through Patch. I've talked to 4 other projects and they were really passionate about what they did. They shared a lot about their experiences from the ups and downs and even their experiences with the platforms, with some of the backers. Did you have any bad experiences with the backers?
None yet, because I haven't missed my deadline yet.
Good. Okay, deadlines are very important.
Yeah.
John, can you share to them, because these are people that could crowdfund in the future, how open were you to your backers about the project?
I was as open as my patent lawyers will allow me.
Okay.
Okay. So you can't be too open because there are China's watching.
Okay, we're back to made in China.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So no. But kidding aside, you can't be too open to that you reveal your secrets to your competition. But at the same time, you need to be open enough that your community feels like they are part of you. They are part of your growth, your inception.
So what kind of growth is this? I mean, are we talking about when you reach the $60,000 US, you said, okay, we're done, that's it. What did you do after?
Well, that money, whatever we earn from the campaign, it's going to be put to use.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant during the campaign, when you were still running the campaign. Because there are other campaigns that I see that they try to push and push, that even if they reach the target.
Oh yeah, I
they
did. Yeah, I tried to do that because well the if you look at most campaigns, there's this spike at the beginning and then plateau in the middle and then a little bit and then a little kick at the end. Okay, so we went through the same thing. There was And there's this site called KickTrack. I don't know if you know this site, but
Okay.
KickTrack keeps track of campaigns, how they're doing, and they give you this very misleading trend curve. Okay, it's misleading because they don't have their algorithms quite, pinned down, and it overestimates what you will earn at the end. Okay, so seeing that at first I was trending towards like close to $800,000. Okay, I'm like, oh yeah.
You can go back to the US and stay here for good.
I'm like, oh yeah. And then you see it starting to dip, and then the curve is starting to, and then so this kind of encourages you to like, what else can I do? Okay, so I did approach. Okay, so this is something you'll find out once you run your own campaigns on Kickstarter. A lot of predatory people will start approaching you, trying to get you to give them money to promote your product, to market your product, to do magic for you. Okay, and so I was saying no to most of them. Okay, but I did gamble a little bit of money on a couple of them that one of them turned out to be okay, one of them turned out to be great. Okay, but it's all to the end of trying to get your curve to swing back up. Okay, so that was it. I wasn't quite happy with just at $60,000. I was, but internally I wanted to make $500,000. That's what I wanted to make, $500,000.
Okay. For both platforms, in your experience, is that common even here in the Philippines? Well, except for no, you don't have a trend. You have a 10-minute trend. For Spark
For us,
Project.
for the campaigns that run on the Spark Project, we have that similar trend that it spikes at the beginning, and then the challenge is for projects to sustain their campaign in the middle because that's where the lull happens. And then usual behavior of people, when they find out that it's about to end, they will get back up and start backing you. So there's a spike in the end. So and that's one of the things that we tell our projects when we orient them with running any campaign at Spark, that you have to expect that. And since that's likely to happen, even in Kickstarter, you would have to be able to manage that very well. So yeah, they do all these things like promotional, they do Facebook ads or maybe go on events like this and really connect with their community to get that funds up.
Okay. Here, to sum it all up, because I was called for 5 minutes, I'll ask Ruel. Ruel, what is your major hurdle right now that we as a community can help you with?
Well, there are several hurdles, but
The major one lang muna.
Major one. Well, we are still focused on scaling the side of the farmers while ensuring that the risk is very much minimized. So, in terms of developing technologies or means for us to reduce the risk, it would entail us to need funds. Because right now, just to share, the methods that we are doing in vetting farmer is quite unconventional as compared to what other financing institutions are doing. We are doing credit scoring in terms of aggregated data from the farmer profile, from the farm profile, the agronomics data, the weather data, and several other things. And we are now at the stage of converting this things that we do manually into something digitized, which is into machine learning algorithms, those sort. And it would require us to hire more developers, and developers are really expensive. And so in our case, we are actually looking to raise funding or get funding from grants that are actually very supportive naman. There are some that are very supportive. So it's a hurdle in the sense that we haven't closed one yet, but we are hopeful that we could close one in time.
John, closing biggest tip that you can ever share to future crowdfunders.
Biggest tip.
Yeah.
Okay. Learn digital marketing. I think that's very important. Ins and outs, what makes people tick. Learn how to make short just likable videos. Those are very important. People like to watch something and try to find something that gets people to do that, and I think will do okay in terms of digital marketing.
Patch? Sure.
So this one is just for everyone's information. Actually, before we launch Crop It Out, we met with Patch. Parang we haven't launched yet, pero we saw the crowdfunding Facebook page, and Patch have been very much helpful to us since we met them. So parang we're dealing then with issues regarding, parang we are talking talaga consistently about crowdfunding industry in the Philippines, ganyan. Kasi since right now there are some regulatory concerns then, and for us, both of us are parang asking insiders. So parang, oy, kamusta yung mga kilala mo dyan na regulators? Kamusta na? So there are things that we try to work together then as a group. And for me, before siguro it ends, would like to thank then Patch for assisting us and being very much open for the crowdfunding, given na sila yung pioneers talaga in crowdfunding. And when we went in, they have been supporting, very supportive to us. So,
Yeah, it's true. When we were starting, I mean, it's very important, the local industry. I think I'd speak tip then, like, for the local industry, it's quite different. And as platforms, we have our challenges. So the only way for us to move it forward locally is for us to really work together. No, so that's why we're sharing notes and discussing how we can talk to regulators and such. For a specific tip for future for people who want to crowdfund their own projects on a local perspective, I think very just as John said, online marketing or digital marketing is something that you really have to learn or be acquainted with. But I think a unique characteristic of local crowdfunding is the ability to go also offline. So I think what worked for local projects to be successful here in our country is that they did the online thing but also did the human connection.
They did, with the interviews, I'll help Patch. They did their own small events. They went to certain functions, some went to schools, some went to small areas wherein they could present their own products. So it's a mix.
It's a mix. I think Filipinos are still more comfortable dealing with people face to face, so we have to consider that too. So yeah, that's a tip for people who want to do a local crowdfunding campaign.
One thing that we didn't hear is a backer's point of view. I am a backer. One thing I did before I backed any of the projects is I found out who these people were. And I backed Patch because he helped me a lot for my thesis, or my dissertation. And through the people that I met, and one thing was very common. They backed each other every time they put up a project. Okay? That is why I said at the beginning, it's not just you giving and taking. Everything in this community that I have seen and found, everybody gives. Even if they did not meet the target they wanted, they will still give back. Not always in monetary, but sometimes in the knowledge that they can share to other crowdfunders, like what John experienced, Ruel experienced. And Patch is always the bridge to a lot of us. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.